Hi everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. We're live and this is your Norwich versus Manchester United preview, but also your latest Manchester United news. We'll be talking about Ralf Rangnick's love for a midfielder that many Manchester United players and many Manchester United fans would like us to sign. All your latest United news as well as a bit of an update from Rangnick's first week in charge and what the players are thinking about Rangnick, which is interesting as well. But I'm actually quite excited. It's a show at 4 o'clock live, which I don't normally do. I normally do 10 o'clock live, but if you saw the morning show, I was at Old Trafford, driven back, just got back now, and a little bit late for the preview, so should have been at 2 o'clock, but I got involved up in Manchester, so I had to sort a few things out there. But we are live, and you're very, very welcome for tuning in. We're going to be talking about the Norwich game. We're going to be talking about the lineup for that game. We're going to be talking about this quote from the RB Leipzig CEO, speaking specifically about Rangnick's opinion on Amadou Haidara, who's a midfielder we've been linked to over the last couple of weeks. So we've got lots and lots to talk about, but first of all, as you can see, and I'll whack it up on the screen as well because that's how it works on here, we are sponsored on our previews by Ultimate Fan. And if you have been playing Ultimate Fan over the last few weeks, it's some great fun. It's free to play. You can win cash prizes. Effectively, Ultimate Fan is a fantasy football game with a twist. Imagine fantasy football combined with super cool pack openings. The game is really simple to play. All you've got to do is be over 18 and download the app totally for free using the link in the description. Follow the sign-up system and then you'll be able to start opening packs and filling in your team for the coming weekend. You then accumulate points on the players that you've got and how they perform at the weekend. There's also Ultimate Fan Plus for you to explore. This section features paid for gold and silver packs where you can receive extra cards, exclusive content and much, much more. And each week there are prizes to play available, like I said, and this week's prize pool is a massive £8,500. So if your players from your free packs perform well, you could be top of the leaderboard winning £8,500 cash prize pot. So this week we're going to be moving things around in my team a little bit. I'm going to add Rudiger and Wan-Bissaka to my defence and also bring in Jota and Mane. Now Wan-Bissaka might be a bit of a weird one when you look at my predicted team in a minute for United, but I think it might work. I do. Fingers crossed these changes can get me some decent points, although the Wan-Bissaka thing is probably not going to get me decent points. As always, if you want to check out my team, we've posted a pic on the United Stand Twitter page, and if you head over there, make sure to drop your screenshots of your team in the comments for us all to have a look at, which I actually enjoy looking at that each week, having a look at your teams. And if you want to take part in the Awesome Weeks game, then hit the link in the description below and you can start playing Ultimate Fan today. Thanks again to Ultimate Fan for supporting the United Stand. Now we can move on with the rest of the show. And remember, this game is free to play. You've just got to be over 18 to play it, and good luck with that. And as I said, the links are in the video description for it. So let's get on with the show. I'm going to talk about the Norwich game, but I do just want to talk about what I was hinting about and what the title of the show actually is. Rangnick loves Haidara. Now this is a direct quote, direct free kick, direct quote, straight from the CEO of Leipzig, who I believe's name is Mintz or something like that. I don't think it is that. I think I've got it completely wrong. But he has said that Rangnick loves Amadou Haidara, who is a midfielder that we've been linked to from Leipzig for quite recently. 23 years of age. A midfielder in the sense that I wouldn't say he's a holding midfielder. I wouldn't say he's an attacking midfielder. I'd say he's your traditional sort of. He'd play in those midfield positions that McTominay and Fred play in. So that is interesting, isn't it? When you've got the CEO of Leipzig speaking about our manager at Manchester United's admiration for Haidara. Now, the kicker to this, the other side to this, is I don't think. I mean, why is he talking about him? Was he asked about it directly? But the other side to the story is that they're trying to get Haidara on a longer term contract, and they're trying to get the release clause moved because he's got a release clause at the moment for about £33 million. Now, I'm not going to dwell on it too much because at the end of the day, I've not changed that off either. At the end of the day, I haven't. I spoke about this morning outside Old Trafford about the need to bring in a midfielder. So I think that I'm not going to mess about with it for too long, but the point is that this is a player that we can go for. And the fact that Leipzig are talking about him, I mean, look, I also want to say that I'm not going to get over excited about Amadou Haidara. I mean, he's available for £30 million. He's a player that Rangnick really likes. We need a player in that position. So yeah, look, it looks logical. But we don't really know enough about this manager yet. You know, if this was Ollie, I'd have a pretty good idea of what he was looking for based on what he's bought before. Rangnick may not even have any money to spend, and we've certainly not seen what he likes at the club at the moment. But obviously those Leipzig connections are there. He'll know a lot about the player. He brought him over from Salzburg to Leipzig, and I'm sure if you said to Ralf Rangnick, do you want Amadou Haidara right here, right now, he probably would say yes. But there's a big jump from Leipzig saying that Rangnick likes him to Manchester United actually buying him, and as we know, Leipzig are trying to get him to sign a longer term contract to remove that release clause. What I would say is, even more so, reason to try and get him in January while that release clause is there, because if Leipzig are trying to get Amadou Haidara on a longer term contract so they can remove the release clause, well, the release clause is there. If we offer £33 million now, Leipzig have to go, they've offered it, it's up to you, mate. So maybe that's a warning for Manchester United to get moving a little bit quicker on that. But I think that will be a very interesting game, and I'm very much... Sorry, not very interesting. I am very tired. I've been driving for 4 hours today. Been up in Manchester, which is nice. It was nice, but I am a bit tired. But yes, it is going to be interesting. I also noted Aston Villa game in the FA Cup has been moved to the Monday night. So we play... Let me get this right. So we're playing... obviously we've got Brighton. Then we've got 9 days off. Then we play Newcastle the day after Boxing Day on the evening of a Monday. Then I think we play Burnley on the Thursday. Then we play Wolves on the following Monday, which will be something like January the 3rd or 4th. And then we play another week off, and then we're playing the FA Cup on the Monday night as well, and then play at the weekend. So January is... We've got now... I don't think we've got a midweek game in January. So I hope we do use January effectively in the transfer market. I don't want to see us just sitting there and going, we'll see what will happen in the summer. Because if we sit and wait and see what happens in the summer, that means you're sitting on waiting on Lingard, on Pogba, on Donny, on Henderson, on signings. You know, I think we need to be proactive in this January transfer window. We've not got loads of games, i.e. we're not playing Carabao Cup semi-finals. Obviously there's no Europe. I don't think there's any midweek Premier League games. I think we've got 4 or 5 games in January if we get past Villa in the FA Cup. So let's use that January transfer window effectively. We all know that Delo is Portuguese. We just leave it in there for a laugh now. Excited for Pukki to score a hat-trick on Saturday, says Ben Smith. Well, let's talk about this Norwich game on Saturday, because it is the Norwich preview. As you can see from the lineup, and I've got a few things I want to go through as well, but as you can see from the lineup, that is the team that beat Crystal Palace. It's the team that beat Arsenal. I don't think, and I'd be interested to see if any of you disagree, I don't see any reason to change that team from Crystal Palace. One, because we beat Crystal Palace, and two, I don't feel anybody from the Young Boys game really pushed anybody out of the first team. That wouldn't be a major shock. And I'm sure people say, well, drop Maguire for Bailly. It's not going to happen, though, is it? Varane and Cavani aren't available for this game, by the way. Just looking at Norwich, though, I mean, let's have a look at the reality of this. It's been a really interesting week for Manchester United. I mean, Rangnick hadn't even taken his first training session a week ago. A week ago, we were playing Arsenal on this eve a week ago. A week ago, we were behind Arsenal. We are now in 6th place, above Arsenal. We've got 24 points, and we're 3 points off 4th. West Ham this weekend have a potentially difficult game for them at Burnley. Then they've got Arsenal, we've got Norwich, and we've got Brentford. So there's a real opportunity ahead of Brighton a week on Saturday to be in the top 4 and be 4th our very selves. So let's see if we can take that opportunity. In relation to Norwich, look, recent form for Norwich is interesting. They have drawn 2 and lost 1. I think since Dean Smith took the job, I think he's won 1, drawn 2 and lost 1, which is an improvement for them. They're actually joint bottom with Burnley and Newcastle at the moment, but I don't see Norwich causing Manchester United any problems. I think that actually their brand of football was probably more progressive under their previous manager. I think Dean Smith has got them well organised. We shouldn't have too many problems with Norwich, especially if we pick a team like that and we play on the halfway line. I don't think Norwich have got anything that we need to fear defensively. And if we can get Delo and Telles forward, and we can push McTominay and Fred forward again, and get Lindelof pushing forward again, and really get the front four high, I can see us winning this game, and I can see it being a nice Saturday tea time. How do you think Diallo performed yesterday? Does he have a future for United? As Mark, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think he performed particularly well. I think he needs to go on loan like Alanga, is my honest answer. I think he's a very good talent, but he's not ready, is he? And that's why when I look at this team for Norwich, I don't see any changes being made. I mentioned it on the match reaction last night. Possession is everything, and whether they were lucky or not, and to be honest with you, I think that some of these players have been lucky this season, whether it's Bruno, Maguire, McTominay, Rashford. They have had a bit of a bad season, but they were in the team when Rangnick came in, and he stuck by them. It's not Rangnick's problem how Maguire played against Leicester or how somebody else played against somebody else. They played for him against Crystal Palace and they won, and that's all Rangnick's interested in. And look, they are fortuitous. That set of players, apart from the fullbacks, are basically the players that were playing for Ollie. The spine of the team is Ollie's spine there. It really is. Rashford, Ronaldo, Bruno, McTominay, Fred, Maguire, Lindelof, De Gea. That is Ollie's spine. But Rangnick's using it in a different way. I don't see anybody coming into that team at the moment, though. Telles and Delo have shown that you can come into that team, but you've got to get your opportunity. And they got their opportunity because of injury. Eric Bailly, Donny van der Beek, any other player that you think you want to play in the first team, they're going to have to wait for that opportunity because they've not done enough against young boys to force themselves in, I'm afraid. And it's interesting actually talking about that. Donny van der Beek was talking about it after the game. He acknowledged he made a mistake in the goal, but he openly spoke about the fact that it's difficult when you haven't played for a while and you haven't played together. So Donny will be fully aware that he's not going to be playing in this game against Norwich. But I think if you're an Eric Bailly or a Donny van der Beek, you did enough to sort of show Rangnick that you can be trusted. You've just got to wait for your opportunity in the first team. And it's funny, I was talking to Adam today because I was up in Manchester and repeating what I was saying to you last night, effectively, that if that had been Scott McTominay playing where Donny van der Beek was last night, he wouldn't have had a good game. Fred wouldn't have had a good game because it was a difficult position to play. You've got Juan Mata as your partner, and then you've got people like Lingard and Alanga and Diallo who didn't really do much when he did put the ball into their feet. Ralph's comments on Greenwood gave me chills. He knows what to do to develop him to a world-class player, says Elliot United. Yeah, so these comments on Mason Greenwood from Ralf Rangnick were quite interesting, effectively saying that Greenwood's got amazing technical talent. They need to work on the athletic side, but he likes him. But they describe him as a 9.5, basically. So he's not an out-and-out number 9 yet, but he's not really a winger either. And I think obviously in this system, there's a number of positions that Greenwood could play. It's going to be really interesting when we get Cavani back, because looking at that team, I mean, I think Marcus Rashford's very lucky at the moment. Martial's injured, Cavani's injured. I don't think Rashford really deserves to keep getting starting games up front. I don't think he's really a striker anyway, but he will start against Norwich because I don't think Rangnick will change a winning team. But Mason Greenwood's got to be knocking on that door, hasn't he? And I think I'd like to see, certainly Greenwood will be the option off the bench in this game because we haven't got Martial, we haven't got Cavani. And I think, it's been a really good week in the sense that we beat Palace, we played last night, and none of these players were even on the bench for the game. So, Bruno and Sancho, not really been mentioned. They're going to be massively important in this game. And I do think as well, there's going to be a game very soon, whether it's Norwich, Brentford, probably not Brighton, where I would hazard a guess and be quite confident in hazarding this guess that we will score 3 goals or more in one of the next 2 games. I just think we're on the verge of a game where we're going to really, batter somebody. And that first half an hour against Palace was a hint. Yes, we could have scored 2 or 3 in that first half, but maybe Norwich will be this game. Now, of course, Norwich, I mean, what are Norwich's strengths? I mean, I tell you what, Norwich, under strengths, they could put yo-yoing because that's what they are. They're a yo-yo team. They seem to always get promoted from the Championship and always get relegated from the Premier League. Brandon Williams can't play in this game because obviously we're his parent club and you don't play against your parent club when you're on loan, so he won't be playing. But I just don't. I think United have moved past all this. Even under Ollie, I would be confident that we would beat Norwich. They're a team that plays quite open. I think they'll allow themselves to be pressed. I don't think they've really got players that are going to be able to play through our press effectively. They haven't really got pace to hit long balls to try and hurt us that way. If you think about how well we played against Palace in that first half, I think Palace are a much better team than Norwich. And, you know, in fairness to the new manager, Dean Smith there, he can only do so much with what he's got. The reason Norwich keep getting promoted from the Championship and relegated from the Premier League is because they're too good for the Championship, but they're not good enough for the Premier League. So I expect Manchester United to win, and I'm actually going to go with... I'm actually going to say 4-1 as a prediction. 3-0 or 4-1, so I'm going to go with the 4. And I think we'll see a bit of Sue on Saturday night. I think we will see a bit of Sue on Saturday night. Norwich is the perfect team to batter, even if they've looked decent under Dean Smith, says Desi's game in. How do you approach this game if you're Norwich, though? How do you approach Manchester United at the moment? If you sit back, we will absolutely suffocate you. You know, under Ollie, you sit back, United go side to side like bloody Chuckle Brothers or Crabs. But if you sit back against Rangnick, he's going to stick Maguire and he's going to stick Lindelof on the halfway line, and everybody else from the fullbacks to the CDMs are going to just pump right up on the edge of the box. And all we'll do is all right, defend then. Right, Telles, Delo, just keep whipping cross after cross in, and one of them's going to go on Ronaldo's head. And as soon as it's 1-0, Norwich's game plan's over. So sitting back against us will end in defeat. Opening up against us is going to end in defeat. So what do they do? What do they do? And they don't really have any genuine pace to sort of hit the channels and get in behind our fullbacks and expose our slow centre-backs. I mean, Pukki's not particularly quick. And if they try and pass through us, I don't think they've got the players who are technically good enough. So I don't see how Norwich can get something out of this game of football. But, look, anything can happen, and if this was a cup game and it was Norwich at home in the cup, you might think something else. Just a few quotes coming in from Scott McTominay off Sky, actually. Somebody just mentioned me this. This is from Scott McTominay. 100% more steel behind closed doors. Very firm, very driven. Knows what he wants in me, and he's very, very clear. To get your points across, you have to be clear and forceful. If players aren't doing what you're asking, then obviously he's not shy to tell them. I mean, that's from Scott McTominay talking about Ralf Rangnick. And, you know, I predicted this with McTominay. I think he will become a favourite of Rangnick. There's something that he does that makes him a favourite. Like Mourinho, he loved him. Ollie loved him, and maybe Rangnick's going to go down that route as well. I just hope he can become a footballer. And I know that sounds really rude, but look, Fred played very, very well against Crystal Palace. I thought McTominay was average. I gave him a 6. Some of you gave him less than a 6. But I tell you what tires me about Scott McTominay. He's 25 now. He's 25. He's not 21. He's not 19. He's 25 years of age. At 25 years of age, you should be established as what you're going to be. And if he's established, he ain't good enough. So, all right, he might be a late bloomer. Let's see what you're all about. Because I'm tired of being told by the media, by people who've played against him, by, you know, Sir Alex loves him, Carrick loves him, Mourinho loved him, Ollie loved him. But I don't see a footballer playing for Manchester United each week that I can go, oh, that's what you're good at. I don't see it. So let's see with a proper... And look, the defence to that is, and I will be fair, Ollie hasn't developed anybody in 3 years. Greenwood's the same player he was 3 years ago. That's what Rangnick's basically saying when he says about development. Rashford is still the same player he was 3 years ago, who can score a great goal, but can also stick his head down and not look up and play a pass. And McTominay is the same player he was under Mourinho as well. If Rangnick's going to... There is a player there. Like, it's not offensive. Like, I'm not saying he's totally crap. There is a player there. There's people I trust. There's people I've read about who I trust who rate McTominay from what they've seen, but they must be seeing it in training because we don't see it regularly in a match. So let's hope that Rangnick can find it in him. Whether he will or not, I don't know. Mark, what is Delo's market value, and is it finally his time to shine at Manchester United as nature videos? Well, does it really matter what his market value is if you're not going to sell him anyway? So I don't really understand the video, the comments, but I suppose he's probably worth about 20 million. But this is his chance to shine. He would definitely play. Like, Luke Shaw could start against Norwich. I don't think he will, but he could start against Norwich. I'd be surprised if Luke Shaw starts, but I just would say this. Football doesn't work like this. Like, Delo will start against Norwich, because I don't think Wan-Bissaka's going to be fit by the look of it. He was stretchered off at the end of the game last night. Is Telles Rangnick's first choice left back? Or is Telles playing because Luke Shaw couldn't play? Now, Rangnick said after the game last night that, basically said Luke Shaw's in consideration to start against Norwich, which could mean anything. But he could start Luke Shaw against Norwich because Rangnick sees Luke Shaw as his first choice left back. Now, whether that's right or wrong, we don't know, but I think it will be Telles. Mark, are there any updates about crowds attending the matches? Looking how Germany has restricted them, is it something to be followed in England, says Surab? Yes, so if you are a match-going Manchester United fan, I think it's from certainly probably the Brighton game. I think that's the next game. We're at Old Trafford, COVID passports. So if you've had your jabs, you can get your proof of jab from the NHS website, I think it is, and you will need that. I think Ronaldo's going to nab a hat-trick, says Icy. And look, just going back to that McTominay comments about Rangnick, I said this at the weekend, and it's still true. You do hear things from certain people about what's going on the training ground, and the general consensus from the training ground is that, and it's such a cliche, it really is, but they've never been worked so hard. They're really impressed with the new manager, and his tactical approach to the game is very impressive. I mean, I knew this at the weekend. It's coming out again today in the press, but it's true. But in many ways, it's a cliche because every this always happens where you normally get the, wow, we thought we were fit before. It's amazing what our fitness levels are like now, which basically means the last manager was crap at training. And this stuff will all come out, but ultimately there is a big difference between Ollie's coaching regime and Rangnick's coaching regime. We know that, but it is. I agree. It is a little bit frustrating because when you've got players coming out saying, "Oh, he's a real hard taskmaster, and if you don't do it right, he'll make sure that you're definitely going to know about it." But all I think about with that is, well, look, maybe some of these players weren't aware of who Ralf Rangnick was. Some of us were. But when you start to hear things like we've just discussed about players being impressed with his tactical acumen and his drive and the fact that he's very strict with them and tells them when they're doing things wrong, it just shows you how weak the management was before. Because I'm not going to sit here tonight and go, oh, I'm really excited that Rangnick tells them off when they do something wrong, because I knew he would do that. But the fact that the players have to come out and say, yeah, if you do something wrong, he'll let you know about it. Very strict, but very fair. Well, that, what? It's not what they're saying. It's what they're really saying. So if you've got, let's have a look at that quote we were just talking about. So McTominay says, if players aren't doing what you're asking, then obviously Rangnick's not shy to tell them. That means Rangnick tells us when we're doing things wrong. Ollie didn't. That's basically what that means. He's steel behind closed doors, very firm, very driven, knows what he wants, and he's very clear. To get your point across, you've got to be clear and forceful, which basically means Rangnick is clear and forceful in his tactical advice. Ollie wasn't. So, yeah, I mean, look, Ollie's gone, and he needed to go, but it does make you, like me, like many people, look at the last 3 years and go, it was 3 years that really we're never going to get back. It's a shame Williams can't play. He's a vital player, says Ben Smith. Well, talk to the hand. He's not playing, is he? It's this loan thing. Jose was spiteful. Ollie was too nice. Rangnick is logical, says Red Baron. And I will use Greenwood for Sancho, and when bringing Sancho in, taking out Rashford, you get Ronaldo on the front left and Sancho on the right, or taking out Greenwood. No, Sancho's got to play in this game. I think Sancho and Bruno are two players that, for differing reasons, haven't had the best season. Sancho didn't play for most of the season so far until the last few weeks, and Bruno has struggled, certainly under Ollie, but I think they're both, potentially two of the best creative players in European football. So I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I love the 4-2-2-2. I don't love the 4-2-2-2. I like it in the sense that it's great to watch and it's exciting, but it's not United. I like, if I'm absolutely honest, I want us to play a 4-3-3. I want us to play with Ronaldo up front and then two wide forwards. That's how I want United to play. But I'm not going to sit here and go, it's bloody ridiculous that we're not doing that. You can still get your width from your fullbacks in this system. And it is quite nice and exciting having two up front. And also, it's nice having Bruno and Sancho playing in those more central positions. And I think those two players are going to be massively crucial to what we're trying to achieve under Rangnick. And another exciting thing is as well, is that this is only going to be Rangnick's second Premier League game. He'll pick the same team that he did against Crystal Palace, I'm pretty certain. I think the only player that might get in is Luke Shaw for Telles, but I think he'll pick the same team that he did against Palace. But where it went wrong last night is, how many players from last night can he trust? If things go wrong against Norwich, there is no Cavani, there is no Martial, there is no Varane. So off the bench, who can Rangnick trust against Norwich? Well, Mason Greenwood's worth a punt. And again, I think this is where Donny becomes important, because we know Donny last night played in McTominay's role, which means he can play there or Fred's role. But we also know that he can play the Bruno and Sancho role. So, look, Donny might not be starting games for United, and I'm speaking to the Van der Beek fans here. He might not be starting games for United, but he could well be restarting his career at Manchester United. I don't think he played particularly badly last night. I think he is a player that fits in with the Rangnick system. And on Saturday evening against Norwich, if Bruno's having a bad game, are you going to trust Lingard or are you going to trust Donny? I mean, after Lingard's performance on Wednesday, I'm going to go with Donny. If McTominay's having a bad game, are you going to trust Matic or are you going to trust Donny? Well, I'm going to go with Donny. So I wouldn't be surprised if Donny does get used at the weekend. Mark, thoughts on Barcelona selling Frankie de Jong? If they are selling Frankie de Jong, then I would love to see Frankie de Jong come to Manchester United, but I don't see that happening. Just a few people talking about Lingard there. I don't know what to think. I'm not getting into this. Donny was bad. Donny's shit and stuff. You're not a United fan. If you're talking like that, you're not a United fan, because I don't know what game you were watching, and you're just doing it to try and antagonise the chat. So we can just remove people like that, because Donny is bad, Donny is shit thing. I don't even understand why any genuine United fan would be saying it about any player at the moment when we've just reset under a new manager. But you clearly didn't watch the game properly. And yes, he made the mistake, which he acknowledged, but actually he was one of our better players in a pretty poor performance from United. But I don't get it. I don't get how a Manchester United fan would be sat here today going, Donny's shit, he shouldn't play for United. What's your big plan then? The same shit midfielders that you've been talking about for the last year, McTominay and Fred? Like, screw your head on and actually think about what's going on at the club. We can't buy anybody for a month. We probably won't buy anybody in a month, which means we can't buy anybody for 6 months. So we've got what we've got, and we need to get the best out of those players. And we're not going to do that by continually saying, he's shit, he's not good enough, he's shit. It's not supporting your team, is it? Ollie's gone. Stop bringing your agendas across from Ollie and realise we've got Ralf Rangnick in charge. It's a reset. It's a new United. And a proper fan is somebody that supports the team. You can't start bringing agendas in within 5 days. Let's not become that other club that literally flips its head around and flips its opinion around every 10 minutes. This is Manchester United. This is a Manchester United squad. Some of these players will be part of this journey. Some of them won't be. But I don't understand it. And look, one player I would talk about that really surprised me yesterday was Jesse Lingard. I mean, many of you were like, "Oh, Jesse's going to be perfect for the Rangnick system. He presses really, really well." And what did we see? We didn't see any. He wasn't very energetic. He constantly kept passing the ball back. He constantly kept giving the ball away. I was very surprised by his performance yesterday. But it doesn't mean, maybe he was carrying an illness. Maybe, he apparently was ill at the weekend. Maybe he was carrying an injury. There might be an explanation for that. Maybe he will get a chance. Maybe he will sign a new contract. But, everyone's got an opportunity. Donny needs a run of games just like Delo, says Louis. 100%. He's still a bit rusty. I miss... okay, I've never had a yellow pencil. Jesse still plays Ollie Ball, says Bobby. Lingard wants to leave, says Ashwin. And Jesse's going to go to West Ham. I don't think he will go to West Ham because they bought Vlasic, didn't they? He should have gone to West Ham last summer, but I don't think he is going to go to West Ham, if I'm absolutely honest. Just a little bit about Erling Haaland as well. I don't know where this lands in relation to your thoughts or where it fits in relation to Manchester United, but I always get it mixed up. Is it Wasker at Dortmund. I think he's either the sporting director or the CEO. He's been speaking about Erling Haaland and said that they want to try and get things sorted in the next few weeks because they're not aware whether he's going to stay or force the release clause. Now, Erling Haaland has a release clause this summer. I believe it's £70 million. If somebody offers £70 million, he can talk to them and go. So Dortmund openly talking, publicly talking. And this is what I like a lot, especially about Dortmund, but Bayern Munich do it as well. They're quite communicative in relation to players and transfers, and they've basically said that they're trying to resolve this in the next few weeks, but they're not aware as to whether Haaland wants to stay or whether he's going to force the release clause. But obviously they need to know sooner rather than later. So Erling Haaland's an interesting one, isn't he? Because £70 million means that you've basically met the release clause and it's up to Haaland if he wants to go or not. We got a result with the third team, for crying out loud. Compare that to last time we played them, says Davo. Yeah, good point. I mean, but it's interesting about Erling Haaland. I mean, I don't think there's a Manchester United fan in the world that doesn't want Erling Haaland, is there? I'm certainly not one of those fans that doesn't want him. Having said that, there is a negativity to getting Erling Haaland. The first one is he'll only be here 3 years and then he'll move on. And the second one is that however long he's at Manchester United, you've got to put up with Mino Raiola talking about him moving, as we've seen with Pogba. But on a strictly playing sense, I mean, Erling Haaland would be, very, very interesting proposition and acquisition for Manchester United. Can you believe Ronaldo is only 9 goals off the Premier League 100 club, says Ed SD971. I can believe it. I can believe it. You know why? Because ultimately, I think he should have 100 Premier League goals. The only reason he hasn't got 100 Premier League goals is because he left United to go and spend most of his time at Real Madrid. But of course, he's going to smash through that. Is Haaland to Manchester United even possible? Says Alan. Well, it is. I've not heard anything. There's nobody of any credibility that said it can happen. It is possible. I think this summer transfer window is going to be very interesting because there is no major tournament. There is no World Cup this in the summer. It's in the winter. So, as soon as the season ends in May, I think we're going to have quite a busy transfer window because there's no major tournament. Obviously, the season starts a little bit earlier this year because of the World Cup. So, Pogba will be interesting. What happens with him? What's Haaland's future? Now, I spoke to someone a few weeks ago about this, and we were discussing the possibilities of the summer transfer window. And the person I spoke to said, look, Real Madrid might just get Haaland and Pogba. They're both Mino Raiola clients. Mino Raiola will want his clients to win. If he sends Haaland and Pogba to Real Madrid, well, Pogba and Haaland together for 3 years at Real Madrid makes Real Madrid stronger, and obviously that makes, if a team's doing well, that means his client's doing well. So that might be the master plan of Mino Raiola, to take Paul Pogba as a free and Haaland for 70 million. So that could happen. On the other hand, they could still both play together, but they could play together at Manchester United. Erling Haaland could come to Manchester United for 70 million and Paul Pogba could sign the new contract. But could Haaland come to Manchester United? Yes, he could. Do I think he will? The relationship was always there with Solskjaer, and the relationship there is with Rangnick and Haaland, but it's the financials. United will find the financials very, very unpalatable. They will quite rightly say, even though it's wrong that it's happened, Haaland's release clause is 70 million. The first thing Mino Raiola is going to say is that you're getting a £150 million player for half price. So we want a ridiculous signing on fee, and agent fees. So you won't get. You might pay Dortmund 70 million, but you'll be paying another 70 odd million, maybe even another 100 million in fees to Raiola and Haaland. Evening, Mark. Saw you almost made it back into the stadium this morning. Maybe next time. Cheers, pal, says Nathan Schmidt. And feel that 4-2-2 is a bit stupid as it's narrow. Would prefer 4-3-3 or 3-4-2-1, says Frank. Well, no, it isn't narrow. It isn't narrow, Frank. It's you get your width from your fullbacks. So Delo and Tellez, or Shaw and Delo, whatever. The buff man says, forget Haaland, I want beast mode Greenwood. Well, I agree with you, mate. I've always said this. I think we get obsessed with Erling Haaland, and yet Mason Greenwood is, and I've said it for a few times now, is a generational talent. And, I do believe that Mason Greenwood could be a superstar. I think with Mason Greenwood, it'd be very interesting if he was playing for Everton. Everton. If he was Mason Greenwood was Everton's number 9 playing every week, or he was German and he was playing for Dortmund, would everyone would be talking about what a great player is. I think we've got a great player in Mason Greenwood. The challenge now is how do we get him into the team and develop him. We need to get over the superstar signings. We need to play smart now. Rangnick is in charge. Get a CDM and improve the defence, as Pratosaurus Rex. Yeah, I mentioned this a couple of days ago. We don't need to keep spending silly money. But we all our silly money has been spent on English players. And I think that if you're looking at the midfield area where we've got McTominay and Fred at the moment, well, where is that midfielder that you're going to buy to force them out or compete with them that is English? Well, you're talking Calvin Phillips, you're talking Declan Rice. Both those players are going to cost you individually over £50 million. Now, there will be a player in France, there will be a player in Germany, there will be a player maybe in Portugal who is as good as Calvin Phillips and maybe Declan Rice, and you'll get them for less than 40 million. And this is where Ralf Rangnick needs to be listened to. And look, maybe it is Haidara from Leipzig, maybe it's Tchouameni from Monaco, maybe it's your man at Sporting Lisbon from the holding midfielder from there. Maybe it's somebody we're not even mentioned. But we do need to, stop spending silly money on players that probably aren't worth it, and trust in the scouting network that Rangnick will be able to help us with. Nate H, thank you very much for the super chat. And he says that basically people criticising Donny don't know ball, Mark, says Nate H. I think people do it just to be a bit of a troll, really. I thought Donny played well last night in a very challenging situation where young boys aren't rubbish, and he was the only real midfielder we had. I mean, look, you can't sit and say Donny had a bad game when he's surrounded by people like Juan Mata and Jesse who had terrible games. He's had the most touches, the most tackles, and played the most passes. He was at fault for the goal, but if Ronaldo misses a sitter on Saturday, does that mean he's had a bad game? Football's not always just about that one thing, but I think some football fans watch football like that. Their brain doesn't engage in anything else other than, oh, he's shit, he's missed a chance. Oh, that pass led to that goal. Oh, he's dropped it and it's gone in. There's 90 minutes of actions, and you either watch a game of football or you don't. And whilst I don't think Donny was brilliant yesterday, I don't think he was bad. And I think that the proof's going to be in the pudding. Like, he played as a holding midfielder yesterday. Will Rangnick give him a chance in that position in the first team, or will we continue to see him having cameos late in the game for Bruno? That's going to be where the evidence comes from. But I will say, if in January it's McTominay and Fred and Rangnick's not picking Donny, he's got to go. Because we can all say Ollie's not a very good coach and Ollie ruined Donny's career. But if Donny can't force himself into a Rangnick side, then there's clearly an issue, isn't there? And I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. Well, I would have a problem with it because I don't want Donny to go. But if he ends up leaving, he's going to be what's the excuse then? Oh, Rangnick's been brainwashed by McKenna. Like, I don't think he's been brainwashed. Let's just wait and see what happens. Rangnick has to give Donny a chance in the first team, says Devils 58 Reds. But and I don't disagree, but this is the problem that we have with people like Eric Bailly as well. They need a fair crack of the whip. They do. Eric Bailly should never have been dropped after the Chelsea game. What does Carrick do? Drops him for his last game, brings Maguire in, and then Rangnick comes in and picks Maguire because he played against Arsenal and won. It's all about time, and the word I use is possession. Who's in possession of the shirt when Rangnick comes in? And some of them are really lucky, because if Rangnick had come in for the Arsenal game, I believe he would have started Eric Bailly, because he would have said, well, he played really well against Chelsea. And it's that it's those fine margins that can make or break a career. Because Eric Bailly has played well this season every time he's played for United. And he was brilliant against Chelsea. But Carrick drops him to bring Maguire back in. And Rangnick's first game, he's looking at the Arsenal game where Maguire played. So Eric Bailly deserves a chance. But when's he going to get the chance? And if you get the chance, you've got to be given a run in the team. Telles and Delot, they would not have started against Crystal Palace if Wan-Bissaka and Shaw had been fit and played against Arsenal. But Rangnick picks them because, well, they played against Arsenal, they played and they did well, so I'll pick them against Palace. Oh, they've done well, I'll pick them against Norwich. Imagine if Fred had twisted his knee against Chelsea and was out for 2 weeks. In the Arsenal game, he plays Donny and McTominay, and we win the same game, we win it. Rangnick would pick Donny and McTominay against Palace and against Norwich because they did well. Some of these players have been crap this season, but they did beat Arsenal, and Rangnick's looked at that reset and gone, right, whatever's gone on's gone on. This is the team I'm going to pick. Unfortunately, Wan-Bissaka is out for a few games, but excited that Delot is getting a run of games to prove himself under Ralf. Big up United Stan from Singapore, says Sit. Always been impressed by Leicester. They signed another midfielder, Samari from Lille, for 70 million. Watch him be a decent... Well, Davo, Samari's a player that we've been talking about on this channel for about 2.5 years. So most people in this channel will know who Samari is even before he went to Leicester. We were linked to him about 18 months ago. But yeah, Leicester very good at recruitment, and it's that sort of recruitment I want to see from Rangnick. Would be better if we got a good CDM somehow, even if we sold Lingard, Donny or Pogba, says Addy. And hey Mark, if we were under Ollie, I wouldn't want any young midfielders like Haidara because he wouldn't go straight to the bench. However, not under Rangnick, says Akil. Sporting Lisbon have this player, Paulinha, CDM, absolute beast, 26, 6'3", market value 21. Also Portugal plays for national team, and that's exactly who I was talking about, Louis. I just couldn't think who his name was. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Pogba, both in the short term and the long term. Do you think Paul Pogba can fit into my team there? Where would you play Pogba in that team? I think most people would say he's got to play where Sancho or Bruno is. But could Pogba play where McTominay is? Could it be Fred and Pogba? I mean, ideally, that would be my dream. I'd love to see Paul Pogba playing in the midfield next to Fred, and then you've got Bruno and Sancho ahead of him, and Varane comes in for Lindelof. You've got a very, very strong spine there. But I don't know. I think in this system, Pogba's going to be more suited to the Bruno or Sancho role. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Pogba, because I don't think he's a player when he comes back that Rangnick will consistently drop. But I still think he's a player that's not going to sign a contract. But we don't need to worry about that for a few weeks yet. I don't think Pogba will be back until early January, maybe the FA Cup game actually. How's Fletcher managed to appear on the touchline recently? Thought he was just technical director. Also, Delot's flag is wrong. Yes, we know, JJ. And yeah, I don't know what's going on in the coaching side. It looks like the coaches we're getting are the coaches we're getting. So it's Chris Amas and a video director and a sports psychologist. I don't think we're getting anybody else in. It's gone quite quiet on that at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. I don't know why people are talking about Twitch. I'm not doing Twitch at 5 o'clock on an evening. I don't do Twitch at 5 o'clock on an evening. This is the YouTube channel. We're talking about Manchester United. Twitch off. I reckon Rangnick will pick Donny over McTominay, says Icebreaker. I don't think he will at the weekend. Maybe long term there's an opportunity there. I certainly don't think that is his strongest side. I think when Cavani and Varane come back, it'll be very interesting. I mean, I almost want to spend a minute and just say who I think his best 11 is, but I don't actually know at the moment. I think De Gea's in there. I'm not sure who his best left back is. I'm not sure who his best right back is. Varane and Maguire I think will be his best centre backs. Will it be McTominay and Fred? I don't know. I certainly think Bruno and Sancho. But will it be Cavani and Rashford? That's the thing for me. So I think that is really interesting to see what happens, because I think Cavani would work really well in this system. But as we know with Cavani, he can only play probably 60% of our games. So well, let's wait and see what happens with that. Anyway, look, really enjoyed doing the show tonight at this time. Sorry it wasn't at 2 o'clock, but I was in Manchester, as you saw from the morning video. If you want to see me outside Old Trafford, the morning video is me outside Old Trafford. We have got an 8 o'clock show tonight, so I don't want to go on and on and on, and because we'll be live again in just a few hours' time. But I predict Manchester United will win. I'm going to go Manchester United to win 4-1. I think it will be that team. I don't think that's his best 11 yet. I still think there's players to come back into that and push for that, but it's very early days. I'm very excited, and of course the big thing is winning the game. Brentford on Tuesday. It's a big week for United. 3 games in 7 days. Norwich away, Brentford away, and then Brighton at home. If we can take 9 points from those, we'll be in the top 4 for Christmas. And you know what? From where we were a couple of weeks ago, I think we'd all have took that. We might even turn a situation around where it looked like we could have been 15, 20 points off the top by Christmas. We might get it down to less than 10 if we get our way, but let's wait and see. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. We're back at 8 o'clock. Smash a like and subscribe. If you want to see me outside Old Trafford, check that video. Also, Ultimate Fan, links in the video description. It is free to play. You've got to be over 18 to play it though. See who you get in your free packs and see what points you can get this weekend with your players. 8,500 cash prize pot. Give it a go. Links in the video description. I'll speak to you all in a bit.